Hi, everyone. This is the tutorial for the fixed ratio schedule of reinforcement. Now, I want to provide a brief rationale as to why I want you to be able to do this. The reason being that oftentimes students are really good at telling us when given an example, what the schedule of reinforcement is, or giving the definition, being able to look at a cumulative record and tell us what the pattern of responding is and what is likely the associated schedule of reinforcement. But when given the opportunity to actually do it, to actually hopefully reinforce some behavior on some schedule of reinforcement, students often struggle. And so I want to give you the opportunity to just sort of program a schedule of reinforcement so that hopefully you come to understand a little bit more. Next will be on compound schedules of reinforcement, and that is much more important. Basic schedules are certainly relevant to everyday life, but really the problem is there's also so much other reinforcement for so many other behaviors available. And so actually understanding compound schedules, or when there's more than one schedule of reinforcement operating at a time, that's actually much more important to me. But you got to have the basic schedules first. So we're also doing this in PowerPoint for a specific reason. For some reason, it is the most malleable software I think that is available. So we'll prepare it here. There's actually been 3 articles in recent years in our field sort of talking about how we might program instruction in PowerPoint, including one from our lab. We were interested in how to do so on an iPad. You can read these articles. It's not really pertinent to the topic today, though. The main takeaway is that for some reason, PowerPoint is the most malleable software and allows us to do stuff. So I'm going to just give a brief overview, and then we're going to just make it right out. So what you'll have to have is text boxes. I'll show you how to add text boxes in PowerPoint. I'm going to use this, we'll just have a circle, and that will be what our response will be. And I'm likening that to the operant chamber with a pigeon. So this is the little disc that the pigeon will peck, and the light might come on, or it might be a different colored light, et cetera, et cetera. Really doesn't matter what our color is, but we'll get to that. And then we need to have some reinforcement slide. I'll give you this picture of the thumbs up, is like that's when the reinforcement will be delivered. But I'm, again, the analog being to Milo. So pigeons then access Milo as reinforcement typically. So I'm going to quit sharing this screen really quick. I'm going to switch you over to a different screen, actually. So this is going to be just a brand new PowerPoint slideshow. You can see it here. So hopefully you're able to see all of that. So this is what you'll be given. Now, all that we're going to do is add a few text boxes. So please indicate the schedule of reinforcement. This is going to be an FR1 schedule, or if you recall, it could be, we could just call it a continuous schedule of reinforcement, or CRF is often used. And then I'm also going to describe what trial we're on. So we're going to actually have you arrange 5 different trials. And that's really important, especially when we talk about variable schedules, that what happens on trial 1 will inherently differ from, not inherently, but will differ from what happens on trial 2, from trial 3, et cetera, et cetera. Then all I need to do is I need to insert a shape. Now, the easiest way to do so, there are other buttons up here. So I could just click my shapes here. Alternatively, I can go to Inserts, Shapes. I'm just going to do a circle. So I'm going to grab this circle. I'm going to hold down Shift to make it so that it stays circular. It doesn't turn into an oval on me. I'm going to place it like as centered as possible. Now, I like making the outline black, so I can click this and click the black, or I can just click that button and it'll change it black. And then it really doesn't matter what the shape is. You could make it like gray and put text on the inside, click here, and it could be sort of like an arcade version. I'm just going to do the standard. It's going to be a green circle. Again, it doesn't matter. We would teach the organism to respond to this, and the schedule of reinforcement will inherently matter as to how long the pigeon will continue to respond to it, or in our case, the person. So this is my first slide. All I'm going to do is come over here. I can duplicate the slide, or I can just add a new slide. So I'll just add a new slide. I want these blank slides here. And so I'm going to actually just copy. So if I'm holding down Shift here, I'm going to copy this text again. But this is going to be my reinforcement slide. And so I'll pull over my little hand. Again, I'll give you this. So I'm going to put the hand here as well. Now, once we have this programmed, we can sort of make our life easier by just setting up this one and then duplicating it. So what I'm going to do here, well, let's start here. On the reinforcement slide, what I want is that the reinforcer will be delivered for a specific period of time. So if I go to my transitions here, what's happening is the transition, you can see my setting, it says on mouse click. I'm going to actually take that off because I don't want, once the reinforcer is delivered, we always will define the reinforcement interval. So how long, so if we're talking about pigeons, how long do they have access to Milo? Well, here we'll just do it really quick, right? So let's just do it for like 2 seconds maybe, right? But what I want is that they actually won't be able to click through your sequence here. So once your participant or whoever you're going to have run this, which will likely just be you, but I want you to not be able to progress from that. Now, what I'll do here is basically the same thing, but instead, so what I want is that they have to click this button, right, or click on my circle in order to progress to the reinforcement slide, right? Because we're going to reinforce on a fixed ratio 1 schedule for this example. So I actually don't want it on mouse click, because what that means is if I click my mouse anywhere, it will progress. So I want it to take off that. And then I also want to leave that it's not going to transition after a specific period of time. Instead, what I'm going to do is have this link to the next slide. So if I right click on my circle here, and I'm going to go all the way down to hyperlink. So you see on a Mac, you can do Command K. Now, if I do that, I can have clicking that go out to a web page or open a file on my computer. What I want is it's actually going to move to a different slide in this document. And in fact, I can click on my slide titles, and you can see over here on the left that I want it to go to slide 3. That's my reinforcement slide. Or I can just select next slide. So I'm going to click next slide. Now let's just quick test that out. I'm going to start here. I should be able to click any button and move. But now if I'm clicking on the outside here, so I'm clicking all over the place here, nothing is happening. It's not going to transition unless or after some period of time. It will only move to the reinforcement interval if I click that button, and it will go to this slide. It should be for about 2 seconds, and you can see that it progressed there. Now let's just quick go back to that, because what I want is that even on that 2 seconds, me clicking anywhere on it, even if I click the little thumbs up, nothing should happen. So let's try that. I'm going to click in the 2-second reinforcement interval. I'm going to click all over. So nothing, right? It only moved after the 2 seconds was up. So great. And if this is so again, you're going to do 5 trials of this. This is a fixed ratio 1 schedule of reinforcement. So all I really have to do is, again, if I go over to the left here, if I select the 3rd slide and the 2nd slide, and I copy and paste, and I want to change that to trial 2. So trial 2 and trial 2 on both of my slides. So those are both trial 2. And then I want trial 3. So I'm just copying and pasting. I'm going to change my trial 2 to trial 3. So now you can see I have 1, 2, 3 trials. I'm going to copy again, paste, change that one to trial 4 and trial 4. And then I'm going to copy and paste one last time. And this is my 5th trial here. So I got trial, whoops, not trial 6, trial 5, trial 5. Now, what I want to make sure is that my little buttons here are going to just continue to move to the next slide. So that's why I hyperlinked it to do the next slide, because if on that first slide I had said go to slide 3, then every time that I copy and pasted these, all of my little green buttons will always go back to trial 3. And so I have to change them each time. But because it's set to next slide, it should work. So let's see, we should be able to run through this, and the trial number at the top should change. But it's still an FR1 schedule. So it will just be 1 click to the button. Let's see. Trial 1, clicking outside of, nothing happens. Click there, context reinforcement. Again, nothing happened. Now you can see I'm on trial 2. Great. Trial 3. Trial 4, great. And the last one, trial 5. Sound good? That's an FR1 schedule of reinforcement. Now, if I want to just increase this to like an FR2 schedule of reinforcement, let's say I wanted to do that. Let's just do it for this last trial, but we'd have to do it for every single trial. But if I just take slide number 10 and I paste it, excuse me, I want it to be before. So now I have 2 of these buttons. But this button should be transitioning to the next slide, as should this button, and then it'll go to reinforcement. So this is technically an FR, well, this is technically requires 2 responses, although my overall schedule here for my 5 trials has now become variable, right? It's 1, 1, 1, 2 responses to produce reinforcement, sort of strange, okay? So let's start here. I'm going to start on that fifth trial. Now it should take 2 clicks. Let's see, I'm clicking off and nothing is happening. I click once and I click again, and it is truly required 2 responses. So all I would do if I want to make this an FR2 schedule, in fact, it might be easier to just paste these, is I'm going to add this and change this to be trial 4, change this to be FR2, and then do the same up here. Change this to be trial 3, and I'm in my FR2, so this should be the FR2, and then trial 2, and I need to change this one to say FR2, and then here for trial 1. So now I have my FR2 schedule reinforcement already set up. So I already have my FR1. I could have just duplicated the file, but because I was in Zoom, I wanted to just do it in the same one. So now it should take 2 clicks to the green circle, but clicks outside of shouldn't change anything. So there's 1 and there's number 2, produce reinforcement. There's 1 and there's 2, reinforcement. 1 and 2, reinforcement. 1 and 2, produce reinforcement. 1 and 2. Oh, I didn't change my slide. Sound good? So that's our FR1 and FR2. Now the question will be, how do you set up a VR schedule? And we'll talk about that one next.